I serve on the Armed Services Committee of the United States Congress and on the Emerging Threat Subcommittee where cybersecurity is discussed on a pretty much recurrent basis. So this discussion about bringing home the issues of cybersecurity that have global impact also have impact to everybody every day in their homes and in their jobs and in schools.
The way it happened actually was through the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning company associated with Target. So, and this is my viewpoint of how it happened, is that there were some Russian hackers who did it, and small time folks. And they were just looking to see what they could get onto, and they got onto this little HVAC company and then began poking around. And then all of a sudden they realized they were on the Target network.
What we have done to make life easier is we've networked everything without consideration for the security of that network. In the history of networking, you know, it's OSI, open system interface. I want to share everything.
How would they get from the HVAC company to the Target website?
Well, a lot of the websites are connected. See, in order to help run the HVAC systems for Target, they needed access to the network. So they provide a network for the convenience of the heating and ventilation company. And they didn't realize that it could then be used to traverse. Okay. And part of the way it was detected was both coming in, but when they were trying to exfiltrate all of that data, it was noticed. And Target actually uses a company to monitor their networks. And they were alerted by this company that monitors the networks as well as by the FBI.
How does the cloud, what does the cloud do? How does that?
It allows us to share even more.
So that's one way people get into huge networks, right? The trusted third-party connections. The other way, which is probably most common, is the phishing attacks. So, you know, you have a large employee base.
Yeah, phishing for terms, as a term for people at home who may not really fully understand that term even.
So phishing attack is basically a false email that looks legitimate, sent by an attacker, which typically includes a link that goes to a malicious page. So although the link as typed may look real and correct, behind, once you click on it, it may redirect to something else entirely. And that's one of the ways, you know, the studies have been done. Usually about 30% of the employees in any large organization fall prey to phishing.
The attackers were in the Sony network months prior to the actual attack taking place. And how they got in was exactly spear phishing. So it's the targeting of specific people with a fake email to try to get them to click on a link or on a file, which then infects the local computer. Then they move laterally through the network and find out what's where and make their own map of the most, you know, advantageous place to hit. And then they plan well, and then they hit.
So spear phishing is a little more targeted,
yes.
And they spend a lot of time doing background search on you so that the email they send you is so real that anybody can get fall prey to it.
Do you think there have been enough of these security breaches of some of these major companies that companies are now more willing to invest in the security that's necessary to protect their customers?
Oh yes, we've seen a huge insurgence, and I'm sure you know as well, of students at all levels studying information assurance, also known as information security or cybersecurity.
Because of these major breaches, people are seeing the expense associated with the breach, both in terms of real dollars and company reputation, that they need to do more and more to secure their data.
Let me ask a kind of a broad question about existential threats. There are three major threatening, well, maybe more than three, but clearly Russia, China, and North Korea. How do you evaluate those and as to what they are trying to do, and are they different, and how does that impact the individual in their daily lives?
Well, I mean, traditionally in that threat, China's always been after data. Whether it, you know, they want to get it economically and get a hands up on our country. So they continue to do that. Still our plans for our, you know, warplanes or
Satellites.
That may be, yeah.
Say controlling our satellites.
Corporate espionage.
Our unmanned aerial vehicles is a big target for them.
Right.
So any information they can get a hold of. And traditionally, Russia's been after criminal type activity, getting our accounts.
Banks and.
Yep, credit cards, that type of information. Now, in these big data breaches, you know, it goes a little bit against what we've seen before. So it's still out exactly what the motivations are, because some of these Russian hacks that we've seen in the big databases, we haven't seen the data end up being sold. So what is it being used for? So that's still a question that's out there. And then you got the terrorist side of things.
Yeah, you got the
Do you see in your role at Al-Qaeda and even ISIL using, sporadically maybe, but using those kinds of techniques?
Yeah, I mean, they use the internet for a lot of recruitment.
For recruitment, but also to get
They
banking
do.
and
So
banking
the Iranian
information.
threat is a big threat for us. Yeah, targeting financial system. Yeah.
Iranians.
You know, the phishing attacks, that's huge for PayPal. You know, we've been playing offense for as long as I've been with PayPal to work with the Yahoos and the Gmails to come up with, go through DMARC and other things to get a shared threshold. Let's stop the phishing attacks before it can even get to the inbox. You win as the email host, we win with our customer base. And it's tough because it is. If the customer, if it's a phishing email that's in any way associated with PayPal, that customer's going to assume, well, it's something with PayPal. It actually isn't. If you're not sure, if somebody's trying a phishing attack, go to the site.
Is clicking on the link the most obvious way to get into someone's network? Are there other ways that one can get in?
File attachments also. So like a common one is, you know, internal to a company, it's from your HR department. Here's the new fees for this coming year. You know, click on this Word document and open it up and take a look. And then they're infected.
So one of the ways to stay secure online for the consumer is to stay up to date on patches. Microsoft now has automatic updates, as does Apple with Macs, even on cell phones, smartphones, with Androids, iPhones, etc. So staying up to date, it would be like driving a car where you receive a recall notice. Would you want to keep driving on that car? No, you would get it into the dealer. Well, the nice thing is that the dealer comes to you on the computers. You'll automatically be notified. So sometimes it is a little bit of a pain to go through the update process, but please do it because you're going to be saving yourself. It's like pay me now or pay me later